get in because...
It's all right. Please let me know how I may be a...
So you're not Matt?
We're looking for a man called Vache. He may have been an eyewitness in the serial disappearances case. If we can find him, we may be able to unearth some key...
Ah, I see. In that case, please wait here a moment.
Who knew that Neuvillette would be so easy to talk to?
Unfortunately, I'm quite certain that no one by the name of Vache has been involved in any case, criminal or civil. There are no records of him either in the files or in my memory.
Traveler, what if it was really just a dream?
Is that so? All right then. Thank you so much, Monsieur Neuvillette.
Ahem. Miss Navia, I can understand how you feel. Your father, Callus, was a truly exceptional man.
And what are you trying to say, Monsieur Neuvillette? Are you trying to console me? Extend your sympathy? Or just express some... No. You are not trying to do any of that. I can hear it in your voice. There's no emotion behind your words. It's just like last time. After my father took his place in the duelist ring, I pushed through the guards to talk to you as a last resort. You even told me then that you thought there was something fishy with the case, yet you still allowed the duel to go ahead. In your eyes, the value of a human life is nothing compared to those cold laws. If you truly regret my father's death, then why didn't you call a stop to the duel? Why didn't you give me the power to stop him from throwing his life away? Why did you just let him die, despised and hated by all? Everything was hanging on a thread at that moment. Just the tiniest effort could have changed everything. There are still so many things I never got to tell him. So many questions. If you really have no heart, then just look me in the eyes. I, Navia, will...
I'm sorry, Miss Navia.
You and my father are truly alike. You keep all kinds of things in your heart and never say a word to anyone. It's not so much that you can't feel, but that you would never express anything. Oh well. In any case, everyone already... My apologies for taking my emotions out on you, Monsieur Chief Justice. Let's go, Traveler and Paimon.
Navia, are you okay?
I'm fine. Rain. It's raining.
You're right. Wasn't it still sunny when we went into the building? And there shouldn't be any active trials today.
Now that I think of it, on the day my father was convicted of murder, it was...
What is it? Did you think of something?
Yeah, he was outside. It was uncovered and the rain could fall there. Why? Do you think the rain could have affected the crime scene? That thought has occurred to us before. We've even expanded the search area to try to account for that, but didn't find anything of value. Oh? Wait. You don't mean...
So you're saying that the true murderer could have been turned into water and then got washed away with the rain? Yeah, and if that's what had happened, Then no one would have believed your dad, even if he explained what he saw at the...
I really think I found a true genius for a partner. All right, let's go to Poisson. With this new lead in mind, we'll get to the bottom of my...
Yeah, we're gonna make progress for sure this time!
Do you want to go with me now? Or do you want to head over by yourself later? Great. Let's go then.
Whoa! What a huge ship! Why would a ship be anchored at a place like this?
There's no need to be so surprised. While it may look like a ship, it's actually... My father was the one who asked for it to be built like this. Perhaps our taste in exterior design is the only thing we occasionally... A gigantic and glamorous ship embodies discovery, opportunity, ambition, and conquest. It symbolizes Spina di Rosula's bright and limitless future.
And Paimon thought you were bluffing when you said Spina di Rosula had a glorious past. Paimon was confused why a group with such a but now that Paimon has seen this ship for herself, she's been convinced.
Well, Poisson is where Spina di Rosula... Melus, we're back!
Apologies for the wait, demoiselle, and our most important... You said before that you still had some business at the court. What brings you back to Poisson so quickly?
About that. It's because my partner here reminded me of something really important. You see, you still remember, right, Melus? On that night, it was...
Yes, the case was quite similar to that of Mr. Linney's. Both were what you'd call impossible murders.
Could you tell us a bit more about what happened before?
Yeah, of course. Many years ago, something called synth began to gain At a glance, it was a kind of drink that could excite your mood and produce many
Wait! Didn't that guard guy who turned into water also mention that the primordial water could be...
Yes, he did. Considering what we know now, it's almost certain that synth is created using water from the primordial sea. If you drink synth for an extended amount of time, you'll suffer many side effects, such as losing the ability to focus, and if you were to stop drinking it completely, you'll experience flashes of paranoia and anxiety, while lacking energy to do anything. It's an extremely dangerous substance. As he oversaw Poisson, my father was compelled to put a stop to synth abuse, and called for a complete ban of it.
Boss's uncompromising attitude incurred the synth vendor's wrath, but no matter how much they threatened or bribed him, he refused to yield. Not only that, Boss became determined to find the mastermind behind the synth operation and put an end to the problem once and for all.
Yes, but the enemy was very cunning. So he could never get anything out of the dealers, all of whom only sold the stuff and weren't privy to the rest of... Recognizing that, my father decided to contact the dealers in secret and cultivate personal relationships with them. Finally, the man's name was Jacques. He felt greatly ashamed about his work after seeing many families destroyed by synth abuse. That night, my father hosted a banquet at his countryside estate. He planned to meet up and exchange information with Jacques over some food. But then, we heard 2 gunshots from the courtyard. We raced to the scene and found my father, still holding a gun, and Jacques, who was already dead on the ground.
Huh? How did that happen? Aren't they on the same side?
Sounds just like Lenny's case, doesn't it? In both cases, the culprit seemed obvious, but neither appeared to have any motive at all. Looking back on it, though, I now believe the most important clue was something we all overlooked at precisely. It's all thanks to you that I made the connection
como é que
now,
vai?
but considering
Eu
it
tinha
now,
parado
you're
um
right.
pouco, mano.
We
Eu
still
tô
don't
bem.
know what happened, but my intuition
Tinha
tells
parado um
Jacques
pouco.
was an empathetic. I
Aí
think
tô voltando
this
agora que o
third
container
person
chegou.
is probably the key. On that note, however, even though our
mas
opponent
tem que
is
farmar, né?
insidious and cruel,
Farmar,
they
conseguir
are
gema porque eu
extremely
quero
difficult to
os
deal with, and
personagens
Boss has
novos.
already lost his life trying to bring. Even though
Por
Spina
enquanto só quero 2, que
there's
é a
no
Nádia
need to follow your
e,
father's path.
e a
It would be
Arconte.
both wise.
If that's indeed what he wished for, was I not the closest person to him? And what was the point of him dying without sharing any of the secrets he knew? Did he manage? Synth is
E
still
tu,
here.
Dante, como é que vai?
Callous the Unfaithful is still his epithet. And Spina did he think I'd just
Aí, ó.
accept his meaningless death? I've never
Já
accepted
vai
that.
estar com nós aqui
Ever.
farmando
I
também.
want to find out the real.
Navia.
This is indeed the
Vai estar
best moment.
farmando,
So you do
vai pegar
know
os
something else,
personagens, vai
Malus.
tudo.
Yes, I do. But what drove all the tensions to the boiling point was the revelation.
What?
Aí, ó. Ainda
Boss
bem, né, que
also
tu tá bem.
didn't tell you. And the serial disappearance. 5 years was knowing all of this. He decided to use one final intimidation tactic before his death. He claimed, but as long
E
as
aí,
you
você vai
remain
jogar
safe, he would
no
not
PC,
share the evidence with the public. If something
Play
were to
5,
happen to
Play
you,
4.
then he and all those he told would immediately expose all.
Right. So nobody would be able to get off scot-free.
As we've seen, Boss's tactic has worked. Even though
No, I don't believe it. He never appeared to look sick to me.
Ah,
no father wants their daughter to see them weak and haggard, especially
Mobile
someone as
bom.
proud as Boss. To
Não
him,
dá pra jogar até
dying in a
deitado.
duel and suffering lasting dishonor as the unfaithful
aí, ó.
was still far preferable than losing face in front of his daughter.
So he chose
Aí
to
já vai
die
estar com aquele
in
PC
silence
monstro também.
so that he could protect me.
I'm afraid you're not understanding this correctly, demoiselle. What Boss wanted to hand to you was not a parasol. If Boss's spirit could hear you telling me that you want to find the answer for the sake of... I'm sure he'd be extremely proud.
That fool. Couldn't he have just given it to me straight? No. He might have set up everything
A
precisely
historinha aqui tá
because
boa de ouvir, viu?
he never thought I'd be able to understand him.
Oh, sério, o modelo da nave tá lindo. O modelo dessa personagem tá lindo.
Is that the amount of confidence he had in me? And what if I was never able to make it to where I am now? Yeah. I suppose that's true. With the way he'd set things up, if I had wanted, I
Então,
could have just lived out my life without a care in the world.
então.
But thankfully,
A
he
historinha tá
rarely
até
talked to
boa.
me about complex matters, and thus understood little of me as a person. In this case, Malus,
Aproveita
the
e me
key
fala,
It's
Dante.
the
Ah, minha
location
voz tá
where
saindo
synth
alta
is
aí, pelo menos.
produced.
Saber
Essentially,
que eu tô com outro
it's
microfone,
the
né?
enemy's
Aí eu queria
head
saber se,
when he
tipo,
was threatening the
tá
enemy.
alto,
But if you
tá
want to
médio,
use
tá
it,
baixo.
Why? If we know where the place is, can't we just go storming in?
you mustn't forget that we're fighting against a mysterious and dangerous organization that's been in operation for decades.
Sim, as animações dela tá
There's no
perfeita.
telling what might be lying in wait at their headquarters. We also have no idea what a
Ah,
single
ok,
visit.
então.
The worst case,
Então,
In
acabando
that
aqui, eu
case,
vou na
what?
configuração e
you saw
abaixar
one
mais.
of them dissolve during
That's true. Seems my father, but things are different now. It should be a lot easier to prove the other side's guilt, now that we've connected.
You sound like you've put a lot of thought into this, Maloose.
I am the butler, after all. I live but to serve the boss, and am what I've always been willing to take on any kind of risk for your sake. But
Thank you for all of that, Maloose. Have you discovered anything new in the past few years?
let me think. When I announced order, if the vendors
É,
didn't
pior que
change
isso
their
é, né?
plans, then the individual
vou tentar
after
deixar meio
several rounds. The
mediano aí.
first is Florent, Spina de Rosula.
Huh? Florent?
É, eu vou tentar
Yes,
tacar um
surprising,
pouco na
isn't it?
metade.
He was
Mas
one of
vamos
the
ver se vai dar
people
certo.
Boss trusted the most. Thanks to his position within Boss's innermost circle, there's someone else like him too. Marcel, the head.
Uncle Marcel.
It's a guild in Poisson. The boss helped it to grow to its current size and prominence.
Aí,
In the
isso é
beginning, they
certeza.
were only reselling
certeza.
some daily
O
goods,
pior
but
que,
now
tipo,
they're
eu também sou de,
one of the
tipo,
richest guilds
pular,
around,
pular
with a lot of
tudo
business
e
connections in the
rushar.
city.
É que essa história da Návia, sei lá,
So,
despertou
you're like a
curiosidade.
sister organization of Spina di Rosula?
Yes, you
Tá
can say
curiosa
that.
essa história. Essa história
When we
tá
were
curiosa.
fighting against the synth dealers, they provided us with plenty of support.
Agora que pra você ter ideia,
It's
eu
a
vi
bit
gente
difficult to imagine someone using their
com
own money.
o mapa de Fontaine,
to hunt
tipo,
down
lançou Fontaine
themselves.
hoje à noite. Amanhã, o que? Umas 8 horas da manhã já tava tudo 100%.
The final
O mapa
suspect
inteiro
is Thierry,
100%.
the man responsible
pessoas
for
rusham
coordinating
na loucura.
information. Although the
Pra tu ter
guards most,
ideia.
since Thierry is always in the know about our current activities, he could theoretically always plan one.
I see. These are all people who I could. To think that the enemy we've been
É,
fighting
então.
against has been right next to me all along.
If you
Eu
want
não
to
corro pra
investigate them,
deixar
please
100%.
take every precaution to not alert
O
the
meu
quarry.
mapa, quase eu
Judging
tenho
from our
bem pouco que tá
experience, the
100%.
enemy.
Of
Mas,
course.
tipo, eu tenho 2 em
And
Mondstadt
You're too kind,
e
my
duas,
lady.
e 2
I'm
em
just doing my
Inazuma,
duty.
eu acho. É, acho que tem 2 em Inazuma.
And before I forget, proving
So.
after that incident, Jacques' wife and daughter were taken into the Spina's care. They still, if it might help, you could also pay them a visit. I can make the.
Oh, thank you so much, Maloose.
A new case awaits, my dear partner. I hope we can work together to uncover the truth and end this case.
Tá, agora vamos abaixar o jogo. Áudio. Ih, já tá na metade?
Paimon coming in! Paimon coming in! Is this level okay? Can you hear Paimon? Paimon coming in!
Sim.
Paimon coming in! Is this level okay? Can you hear Paimon?
Tá, acho que sim.
Entering standby mode.
Bora esperar o próximo diálogo pra ver.
Over here!
Ih, fiquei preso. Aí. Tá. No próximo diálogo, bom que vai dar pra testar. Quero ver como é que vai sair.
Step on up!
It is settled then. Please excuse
Tá.
me and enjoy your
E agora?
conversation at
O que
your
que tu
leisure.
achou, Dante? Tá melhor?
Thank you for arranging everything for us, Maloose.
Eu acho que ficou um pouco melhor. Só acho.
Excuse me, miss. Do you need anything from us?
Nossa, a cara da menina. cara. Ah, então de boa.
Navia's all quiet. This isn't like her at all.
I'm sorry that I only came to visit after all this time. After what happened, I didn't know how I was supposed to face.
Ah, if it's about that, there's no need to apologize.
Nossa, essa
After
aquela
my
menina ali
husband
tá com
died,
muita
Spina
raiva,
di
mano. Na
Ursula
cara.
sent us a lot of mura and support. I understood your guilt and apology to be genuine.
But aren't all of those things nothing compared to the loss of Jacques? I can understand the kind of pain that comes with losing a father so needlessly.
É,
You
então.
don't understand at all.
Ih, agora é ela que vai começar a falar, ó.
I didn't know how to face you. Because I didn't know what I could possibly bring as a consolation gift. I know only the full
Pior
truth
que é
could bring
mesmo, a
closure
mãe
to
dela
you.
tá triste. A mãe. Agora ela já mudou
I'm
de...
sorry.
Tá,
I
acho que não tá
appreciate
mais
the
com raiva.
sentiment, but you don't have to carry all that guilt. On the matter regarding my husband, my daughter and I have more or less found our answer.
Would you mind sharing it with me? I really can't believe that my father could.
I always knew that my husband's money was earned through others' suffering. He told me countless times that if he could turn back the clock, he would never go into the synth business again.
Então a menina ali tá meio que com raiva dela, porque o pai da nave é que atirou no pai dela.
He
Então,
had many regrets,
Só
and
que eles
felt that he
acham
took
que
the
é, né?
idea
Mas
of
na
providing
verdade
for his
parece que não
family
foi
too
ele.
literally.
Acho
For
que é
the
isso.
longest, so when Mr. Callis came to him with a proposal, he accepted it almost immediately. He tried to be as careful as he could, but even so, he was still found out by the higher-ups.
They found out about his betrayal?
Papa didn't say that exactly, but Papa did tell me that I should never be ungrateful.
Before he left that day,
História
he told me that he
interessante.
had no choice.
Tá boa.
It was only later. I don't know that for sure, but you could say that's the conclusion I eventually came to.
São
Which is why
basicamente os
I'm the
superiores
one who
dele que
should
deu
feel
cabo.
guilty. Callis had always taken,
Sim,
even
sim,
if he
aqui já
fired
dá.
the shot that killed my husband.
Dá pra mergulhar.
Why it? Papa always wanted to be a good man.
Well, things aren't always.
E tá da
Yeah.
hora os mergulhos.
Papa was a.
Then you should
Tipo,
hold
os
on to that.
personagens de Fontaine mesmo,
good
que
man
tipo, de
had
Fontaine
to do
agora
a
só
bad
tem
thing,
a Linette.
then he
Ela
must have had his
pula igual
reasons,
golfinho da água.
regardless of
É
whether he left you a
daorinha,
parasol
daorinha.
or a sword.
Oh.
Thank you for everything you've told me. I will definitely find the truth.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to hear this from you. Even though your personality is quite different from your father's, your
Tô, só que eu queria,
determination when you
tipo...
speak is really similar.
Eu queria muito a C6 dela. Porque a C6 dela, ela fica absurda.
You really think
Só que,
so?
tipo, pra mim pegar a C6, eu teria que atirar no
first time
banner. E eu
anyone
não
said
quero
that to me.
Linnea nem a Yelan. Aí, tipo, eu tô guardando pra Conte Hydro. Aí... eu vou ter que ir com ela na C0 até lá. Mas sim, por enquanto eu tô gostando dela. Já upei ela. Já upei a Linette. Agora só faltam os talentos dela. Tá faltando os talentos, tá faltando... Acho que a arma também. Então. Nossa, deixa ela ótima. Ótima como DPS. Ela fica com encantamento anemo. Aí tipo, tu bate com encantamento anemo. Nossa, é perfeita. Só que eu queria, mas não... agora eu não vou poder. Mas tipo, por enquanto ela vai estar na C0. C0 e... é aquilo, ela tá batendo bem na C0, mas na C6... ela poderia estar muito melhor. Ela fazendo chá. Então, pelo que eu vi, depois que tu faz isso aqui, ó,
Are you okay, Navia?
aí quando tu sai, aqui agora, ó, tu já fica com encantamento. Aqui agora.
Let's investigate the 3
Eu acho
suspects
que
next.
dura 6 segundos.
Laurent should be nearby.
Acho que é
And we should
6
be able to find
segundos.
Thierry and Uncle
Ou é
Marcel
10,
in the
não
city.
sei. Mas eu vi que, tipo,
I'll get myself
parece
together
que o
on the
pessoal
way.
falou que dá pra ficar bastante
So,
tempo.
please
Tipo,
don't
tu
worry.
vem, fica lá os 10 segundos, eu acho. E quando tu sair do encantamento, já vai ter a habilidade elemental de novo. Então, meio que seria ela bater sempre com encantamento a Nemo. Sério, mano. Tá, ela DPS tá perfeito. E tirei minha primeira DPS a Nemo. Não tem nenhum a Nemo. É DPS, né? DPS. Só tem um Reizão, mas o Reizão não tá upado.
Greetings, boss. How may I be of assistance today?
Sim, o
I'm
mapa
sure you've
tá.
heard about what happened at the Opera House.
Depois, se tu quiser
Someone
ali,
got
eu
turned into water,
mergulho lá pra
Yeah,
tu ver
I've heard.
como é que tá.
With something that dramatic? I'm sure
It also reminded me, on the day that the incident happened with, after my partner here put the dots together for, can you do me a favor and try to recall what happened?
Let me think. Mr. Callis was feeling pretty upbeat that day. So he was drinking and bantering away with us at the table.
Fechou,
After
então.
that, he told us that he wanted. My first reaction was that Mr. Callis's life was in danger. So I grabbed my holster, but when I got there, it was already too late. Mr. Callis was standing over a dead body with a gun in his hands.
So you also remember 2 gunshots then?
Indeed. The guard said that the first shot didn't hit anyone, while the second killed Jacques. But reason being, Mr. Callis had left his gun on the table. I even made sure to confirm that before running to the scene. But according to the guards, that doesn't mean he couldn't have had other guns on his person.
Mano, essa história
About the
tá
clothes left at the scene that you
muito
mentioned,
boa.
do you think there was a third
At least from our perspective, my father had no reason to kill. So he would also have no reason to bring the gun he was holding probably belonged to Jacques, or a third person on the scene.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're saying Mr. Callis ended up with the gun because he seized it from one of the other guys? But hold on. If that's what had happened, he didn't even want to face the Oratrice machine, and chose instead to prove his honor in a duel. Did he lose all faith in the courts after seeing someone dissolve right in front of his eyes?
About that, Malouse told me a thing or two. So, I think I can understand why he committed to the duel. I'll tell you everything once the whole truth has been revealed.
I understand. Then I'll leave Mr. Callis's honor, and if I may just say one more thing. The whole Callis the Unfaithful epithet has been a thorn. Many people have laughed at me for still calling him Mr. Callis, even after so many years have passed. But it was Mr. Callis's trust that allowed me to rise through the ranks of Spina di Rosula and live the life I lead today. No matter what others might say, he'll always be the man I respect the most. And he'll always be my boss.
Don't worry. I will definitely find the truth.
Vai encontrar sim.
You and all our other comrades at the Spina deserve to know the truth as well.
Agora é a corte, hein? Aí, já bora ir aproveitar aí na água pra tu ver. Calma aí, né? Que aqui agora... Para nadar, é obrigatório ser com ela, né?
All is accounted for.
Ah, se tu vir rápido assim, ó. Com personagem do tipo de outro lugar não dá, ó. Agora se for com os personagens de Fontaine, tipo a Linette e o Linney vai, ó. Aí ela pulando. Tá, agora não deu, pera aí. Ixi, não tá indo. Ah, o pessoal fala que é, né? Que ela é um peixe. Tipo, ela na verdade é um... Acho que é um dragão... Gente, eu não tô conseguindo. Ah, então. Só alguns conseguem. Será que é porque eu tô no raso? Tá. Até eu pegar o jeito de fazer isso aqui. Mano. Oxi, travou? E o personagem? O personagem travou. A estamina descendo. Mano, que... Ah, voltou. Ele... Beleza, né? Ah, com bug. Tá, agora vamos ver aqui. Mano, por que não tá indo? É, não sei, viu? É, então, e vai ter que dar gemas ainda. Tem que dar gemas. Tem que dar gemas junto também. Será que é mais aqui pro fundo que funciona? Ah, agora foi, ó. Pulou. Agora ali tu viu, né? Aquilo ali que é da hora, mano. Ah, é, então, isso que é da hora. Agora, tipo, olha aqui. Os outros personagens não vai, ó. Pera aí, pegar a Kokumi. Aí, não foi, ó. É só de Fontaine mesmo. Tá, vamos lá agora na corte. Pior que isso é daorinha. Deixar mais imersiva a água. Não, é pra trás. Ah, valeu, Dandy. Valeu por sair de novo, meu mano. Você também. Fique bem,
Hey,
mano. Fique bem.
Thierry.
Oh, now.
Oh.
Valeu aí. Até
So
a
you've got
próxima.
news of that
Oh, okay. Hey, I'm also a member of the guards, you know. The way you make it sound, people would think I was sent off to Poisson because I had done something wrong.
Are you sure there isn't a little bit of truth in that? Under normal circumstances, shouldn't you have been called back to the city already?
I mean, where I work is really up to me. Let's just say I enjoy the
Pera aí,
ambiance
pessoal.
of
Quem quiser
Poisson.
já volto.
Callus did a fantastic job running the town, building Spina di Rosula from the ground up and clearing many obstructions in my way. It would be next to impossible for me to find a similarly easy but high-paying job in the city. Anyway, enough chit-chatting. Are these two friends of yours? You, here for some formal business?
Ah, yes. These two are my partners. What happened at the Opera House made us realize that Linny's case and my father's may be related. We're trying to reinvestigate the details of my father's old case.
Ah, I
Aí
get it.
voltamos, pessoal.
You think there might be
Vamos lá.
more to the case now that we know people can be dissolved in... I was also flabbergasted when I first heard of it. If you want to go through the original files from your father's case, I can help you look for them.
That'd be much appreciated. Thank you. Actually,
Of course. Without them, I couldn't possibly handle Poisson on my own. Why do you ask? We definitely can't use them to forcefully get more evidence for your father's case.
well, you see, just recently, we were attacked by a horde of unnumbered Gardamex in the city. So, if you hypothetically wanted to do something against me, all you would need to do was get rid of the mecha serial numbers and send them after me.
Then you think too highly of my abilities. Dispatching mecha is very different from controlling them. Had to make an analogy. When you order a dish, the chef will make it for you. You can ask the chef. If you try to make unreasonable demands, the chef would just think you're out of your mind and ignore you completely. The same goes for me and my Gardamex. Removing a serial number is also not as easy as you might think. There are a lot of complex steps to it, and it's almost impossible to keep it a secret.
Que
So I
isso,
can promise
cara?
it units.
Do nada apareceu
They're
66
certainly not
mensagens.
cheap. So, whoever their owner is must be super
Meio que
rich,
duplicou as
powerful.
mensagens.
Oh, then you're...
Tinha 33. Duplicou.
Oh, thank you for the vote of confidence, Navia. Jokes aside, I'd like to wish you all the best with your investigation. I'll be staying in the city for a little while, so just come find me if you need it.
Hello, how may I help you? Could you please let him know? You can just say Navia's looking for him. Sure, I will let him know right away.
Navia, hello. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm not as young as I used to be, so my legs are giving out a bit.
Oh, it's all right, Uncle Marcel. There's no need to stress. I just wanted to talk to you briefly about what happened in the Opera House. I'm sure
Yes, I've never seen anything
Oh, you were at the Opera House too?
That's right. I went there with Navia to see the magic show. Who knew it would turn into a whole murder mystery? I also witnessed your marvelous sleuthing work. Quite impressive. To beat the Hydro Archon at her own game on her own turf, I can already imagine everyone in Fontaine discussing your exploits over a few glasses of wine.
Oh, Paimon doesn't want to become the top drunkard.
Apologies. It's just how Fontaine is as a nation. Everyone loves drama and theatrics.
Uncle Marcel, you've also noticed that other thing, right? The fact that humans can dissolve in water?
Yes, I was reminded of your father's case right away. Is that what you're investigating now?
Exactly. I still don't have much solid proof, but I can sense...
Oh, and what makes you say that?
We were attacked on Araneus by some unnumbered Gardamex. And there was also an attempt to get me to drink water from the primordial sea. If not for the vigilance of my partner, I probably wouldn't even be here talking to you right now.
Oh, you're giving us too much credit. Wasn't it you who protected us?
Alas, it seems things are heating up again. The peace that Callus sought so dearly will soon become a thing of the past. But rest assured, Navia, Poisson will always remain a safe haven for you. If you're scared, you can always return there. If anyone dares to lay their hands on you there, the Confrérie of Cabriere will use its funds to the last Mora to bring them to justice.
Thank you, Uncle Marcel. But I don't intend to go into hiding. I'm going to strike while the iron's hot. Do you have any new thoughts on my father's case?
About that. Sorry, my age is catching up with me. The Confrérie was responsible for that banquet, so I was out and about the whole time making sure things were running smoothly. I didn't even have the time to drink with the guests. Then I heard the sound of a gunshot, and the rest was history.
Oh, it's okay. No need to push yourself. We'll ask around some more. See if there are any valuable clues elsewhere.
Sounds good. Just let me know if you ever need Mora. All my wealth comes from Callus's patronage and support. I'll spend however much it takes to clear his name.
Over here!
Opa, Hiroshi, e aí? É Hiroshi, né? É Hiroshi. E aí, como é que vai?
We've talked to all three suspects, purely based on their conversations with me.
None of them sounded particularly suspicious.
I suppose that's to be expected, though. If a single conversation's all that's needed to find them out, then my father wouldn't have needed to investigate the case for so many years. Anyway, even though we didn't make a breakthrough, let's still compile what we were able to find.
Ixi, já vai cair uma chuva aqui.
But where should we start? Ah, you're right! Flora mentioned that Callus probably only ended up with the gun because of... That makes sense.
According to Jacques' family members, if I had to guess...
So, Jacques fired the first shot?
Oh? And why is that?
Ooh, that's a good point. Jacques probably already knew that he was just being used as a tool for murder. And once he had completed his mission, he'd be of no more use to his boss.
Huh. So, what would make more sense from his perspective would be to turn his back on the Order and seek protection from my father. Makes sense. But without evidence, that's still just a theory. Besides Jacques, the attack from the Gardamex has been bothering me quite a bit as well. It's obvious that our enemy has become more antsy after the secret of the primordial seawater was revealed.
Do you think he knew, even then, that we'd follow this lead to the end?
Cadê a DR pra aparecer aí?
Given everything that's happened since, it's quite possible. But who among the three suspects would have the ability to control privately owned Gardamex? Uncle Marcel? My father did really trust him. And they worked together on a large number of projects. Maybe that's how he got to know Jacques. And with funds from the Confrérie, he could also afford a large number of Gardamex. Still really hard for me to imagine, though. After all, Uncle Marcel has been around since I was just a child. Also, wouldn't this mean he has been spending a whole lot of Mora and energy to fight his own synth business? Thierry, you say? Huh. is possible that he's figured out a way to convert the Gardamex for personal use. But I didn't feel like he was lying when he was talking to us about the mecha. I also don't think he'd be able to keep...
Yeah, had he actually tampered with the mecha, if the mecha were taken from the guards, it should be pretty easy to find out when and how that happened.
Florent? It is true that he was... But as Spina di Rosula's advisor, his work mostly deals with personnel...
So you're saying he's too broke to afford a mecha?
Exactly. He can't. And even if he could... be able to dispatch a... Who could it be?
Tá, lá vamos nós fazer nosso papel de detetive.
You know, if you think everything through, Uncle Marcel is indeed the most suspicious of them all.
Could we be missing other suspects? Malus didn't know about the people turning into water thing when he narrowed it down to these three, did he?
Malus has always been very reliable, and his judgment of others' trustworthiness has been fair and well considered. The suspect is knowledgeable about the Spina's internal affairs, has the means... Even if I don't want to believe it, I'm starting to see how things...
Well, we still have another trump card on top of all the theorizing and speculating.
Yes, Malus did say that charging straight in there would be extremely risky. But we need far more solid proof before we can hope to go charging in on our enemy.
Navia, here you are. Oh, I've been looking for...
Huh? Aren't you the guy from the guards?
Yeah. News came from Irenaeus just after you left. We've got another trial on our hands.
Wasn't that place built specifically for holding trials? What's so newsworthy about this one?
I know. But they said the
Já
person
até
they're
sei
putting
quem
on
vai ser,
trial
ó.
is a Fatui harbinger called
O
Tartaglia.
Tartaglia.
What? Is that someone you...
Yeah, we know him. Maybe even a little too well.
Well, he's been accused of being the true culprit behind the serial disappearance.
Wait, how? None of our investigations have...
That's what I thought was strange about it, so I came to tell you the news right away. If the charge against him stands, then it'll be next to impossible to get the guards to support any of our planned investigations.
Right. Because they'll think they've already found the culprit.
Yeah. And it'll be a lot harder then to clear Mr.
I understand. Huh? Split up? What do you mean? Just as expected of my partner. Since this is a trial about the serial disappearances case, the culprit's attention will be focused on Irenaeus, leaving his home base wide open. You're right. This is our best opportunity. All right then, let's do this. I'll stall them at the Opera House and charge Marcel as the true culprit. I won't have any chance of making that charge stick, though, unless we find more evidence. It'll be up to you to make it better.
We'll help you, just like you helped us in Linny's trial.
Demoiselle, please allow us to accompany you.
I'm ready.
Ah, Malus, Silver. When did you two... get here?
We heard. It's our hope that...
Thank you so much. Then, let's make haste for Irenaeus.
See you then! For Irenaeus, we should also get going. The location has already been marked on the map, so let's head over. Huh. According to Malus's info, the synth production base is underwater. Let's go and try to find the entrance. to the synth production base. Ah, you're right. An important place like this is bound to have a ton of protective measures and mechanisms. Navia's probably arguing up a storm right now to stall for us.
It would appear that I must repeat my question again, Mr. Do you accept the charge that you are the true culprit behind the serial disappearances case?
To be perfectly honest, I don't understand your country's complicated court system, or the reason why I'm being... However, I did hear that people who have been charged can choose to participate in a duel to clear their name. In which case, as long as I accept the charge, I can have an all-out fight with that champion duelist Clorend. I've got to admit, that's one of the most enticing offers I've... When I privately sparred with her last time, she was obviously holding back. Real disappointing.
Hey! Don't you understand? You're currently the prime suspect for a major case.
Oh? Sounds like the Hydro Archon wants to lecture me on the ways of the... Then why don't you duel me too? I'm the kind of student that learns best in the heat of battle.
No. That's not what I meant.
Alas, it would appear that communication with the defendant is going poorly, and we have made very little progress. In that case, let me explain everything from the very beginning again. The goal of this trial is to determine the culprit behind the serial disappearances case.
That case had nothing to do with him! Huh? What's going on?
Why is she interjecting again?
I told you it couldn't be one of the Fatui Harbingers.
Miss Navia, this is the second time you've interrupted the court proceedings. I only tolerated your behavior last time because you were able to provide the court with But that was an exception rather than standard court protocol. I can very well charge you with contempt of court for your
Oh, please. Did you ever think I had any respect for this place's point? We can put that discussion aside for now. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here to charge the true culprit behind the serial disappearances case. And if my charges prove true, then Tartaglia here will be proven innocent by default. Correct?
Oh, a young lady has charged in and offered to clear my name. How fascinating. Well, I'd gotten half bored to death by all these rules and procedures anyway. So, Your Honor, is there nothing else for me to do now?
You may take a seat for now in the audience, but that doesn't mean the suspicions against you have been lifted. Now then, Miss Navia, who is the person you would like to charge instead?
That person is... Marcel, the head of Confrérie of Cabriere!
Huh? What confrérie? Never heard of them in my life.
I've heard of them, but weren't they Spina di Rosula's sister organization?
Oh, is this going to be a friends to enemies type situation?
Please let me remind you, Miss Navia, that charging someone is an incredibly serious matter. Committing to the charge also means taking on the legal responsibilities associated with it. And if the charge fails, depending on the circumstances, you may also be charged with the crime of making a false accusation. Knowing this, do you still wish to charge this man?
Yes, I do.
In that case, I declare the charge to be valid. Miss Navia and attorneys, please take your places on the court. Members of the guards, please contact Mr. Marcel right away so that he may stand trial. Mr. Marcel, you will not require an attorney. Is that correct?
Apologies. It all just happened so quickly. I still haven't figured out what's going on. I think an attorney won't be necessary. This is probably just a misunderstanding between me and Navia.
Very well. In that case, since both sides have now arrived, Miss Navia, please present your charges.
I would like to take everyone back to 3 years ago, to the case of Callus the Unfaithful. Only through elucidating what really happened in that case can we connect all the dots for the serial disappearances case.
Navia, do you really think that I was the one who killed your father? Come on, why would I do that? Callus was my benefactor, and remember, both you and I only ran to the scene when we heard the sound of a gun. If that's enough to make me a suspect, wouldn't that make everyone at that banquet a suspect as well?
I think there's no point in getting into the specifics right now. The audience doesn't even have the big picture yet. Even I'm struggling to remember.
Exactly correct, Your Honor. I must refresh everyone's memory about that case before I can explain my charge.
I see. In which case, I will recount the findings about that case as originally recorded by Maison Gardiennage. On the day of the murder, Spina di Rosula hosted a large banquet in a countryside estate owned by the Confrérie of Cabrières. During the banquet, all attending guests heard 2 gunshots from the courtyard. When the guests arrived at the scene, they found the primary suspect, Callus, holding a gun, while his acquaintance, Jacques, lay dead from a gunshot wound. The guards' investigation did not recover any other firearms from the scene. As a result, they concluded that the suspect's first shot must have missed, while the second must have taken Jacques' life. The suspect did not dispute this conclusion, and also declined to defend himself in court. Instead, he chose to prove his innocence through a duel. Callus was defeated by champion duelist Clarande in the ensuing duel, and soon succumbed to the injuries. These are the known facts about the case.
The one with the motive to kill was Jacques, not my father. And even so, Jacques still had no reason to pull the trigger. In truth, the third person shot Jacques first, and was shot in turn by my father when my father seized the gun from him. After that, the true culprit turned the third person into water, erasing all traces. Thank you for the summary, Your Honor. Of course, the guard's conclusion appeared quite sensible to us at the time. However, we should revisit the case now that we've gained new information about the abilities of water from the primordial sea. Something's not right. The testimony of the victim's family confirms that Jacques had thoughts of assassinating Callus when he set out for the banquet. However, in the end, he reconsidered, and instead shared everything with Callus, hoping to seek the latter's protection. Unfortunately for Jacques, the true culprit had already considered this possibility, and had sent out another assassin. This assassin... A pile of... Realizing this, the true culprit caused the hired assassin to dissolve into water, leading everyone to believe Callus was responsible for Jacques' murder. This is the true version of events.
That's what happened.
Wait,
You're telling me something as dangerous as water from the primordial sea has been used for all—
What a great theory. It also explains Callus's and Jacques' respective motives.
Mr. Marcel, you are the one being charged with the crime. You should provide a rebuttal if you wish to prove your innocence.
Ah, but I think I agree with everything Navia just said. In fact, there was nothing in her speech that directly implicated me.
Then, may I ask some questions? In my opinion, we primarily need to determine two things. One, do you have the evidence to back up your claims?
I'm afraid not. At least not at this very—
Boo! If you don't have any evidence, you should—
I may not have the evidence with me, but I know where I could go to collect it. If we look up the deserted clothes against a record of people who went missing around the same time, we should be able to find a match. Considering the serial disappearances case, the guards probably kept careful records of all missing persons from around that time.
That makes sense to me. Monsieur Neuvillette, I would consider this to be a reasonable investigative direction.
Why do I feel like Farina's acting a little differently today?
Maybe she's scared of embarrassing herself again?
Alternatively, she's become more diligent after charging an innocent citizen in the last trial.
My second question has to do with the ensuing duel. If the truth is indeed as you described, then why didn't Mr. Callus explain himself in court? If he had testified that a person had been dissolved, he could have at least
I've thought about this too, and the answer is actually pretty simple. He felt there were things— The dissolving power of water from the primordial sea is an important secret for the true culprit of the serial disappearances case. My father could have exposed it for all to see, but he chose to take it to the grave. At that time, Spina di Rosula was in dire straits, and his reputation had already been shattered. He had no guarantee that going forward with the truth would allow the culprit. What was certain, however, was that it would paint a gigantic target on my back.
Boss once told me that Demoiselle had already been selected as the next target of the serial disappearances case.
What?
If the secret had gotten out, the culprit would have fought an all-out war with Espina right there and then. I wouldn't have been the only one in danger. All of us would have stood to lose our lives. Of course, the guards might eventually figure out the truth of the matter and determine that we were in the right. But what good would that do? How can a hollow verdict protect anyone? Had this opera house ever given my father any kind of confidence in its brand of justice, Spina di Rosula would have had no reason to exist. But by staying silent, we retained the ability to deter our opponents and continue the stalemate. I was able to become Spina di Rosula's president, which made me harder to target, as well as giving me more time to grow and learn. And once I have figured out the truth and stepped up to the challenge, I will do what this opera house cannot, and restore my father's truth and honor back to him.
So, you mean to say, your father intended to die in the duelist's ring?
That's right.
Do you have any proof?
Of course. All you need is to ask his opponent. I don't need your apology, your guilt, or your support from the shadows. You don't have to do anything for my sake. But since he entrusted his will to you, Clorand, you should tell us the truth about his sacrifice.
So, during the duel, did you believe that Callus was intending to die?
Yes, I did. As a champion duelist, I've fought many battles and taken a countless number of dishonored lives. In my line of work, I've seen all kinds of people give their all for the faintest hope to continue living. Some were determined, others passionate. And just one look and I can tell if a duelist is hoping to live or if they're looking to die. I hereby swear on my name and honor as a champion duelist that Mr. Callus never intended—
Since that's your testimony, I have no more questions. It appears there really are good grounds to reopen.
I concur. However, Miss Navia, you still have not explained the link between your father's case and the serial disappearances case.
Right? What she said was fascinating, but kind of beside the point.
Wait, weren't they just talking about the serial disappearances case?
Of course, Your Honor. The two cases are connected via a matter of timing. In my father's case, the culprit intended to kill both Jacques and Callus. As a result, they planned to act after hearing 2 gunshots. And, at the end of Linny's trial, the culprit also only dissolved the victim in front of everyone because they realized they were at risk of being identified. The culprit could only time their actions so precisely if they were already at the scene. Coincidentally, Marcel attended both the banquet and the trial.
So that's why you suspected me. Even after hearing your reasoning, I still can't help but find it a little preposterous. I'm used to it, though. Sentimental child, Navia. It's one of your most endearing traits.
No need to appeal to pathos.
I won't try to refute your points one by one, but even if everything you just said was true, can you prove that I was the only person present at both events? On top of that, does a person have to be physically present to control the timing? Can't someone remotely monitor the place?
Know what she can say to that.
I know that even with that, you might still think you can reduce the list of suspects with some further investigations, until I'm the only one left on the list. Alas, who won't feel at least a little hurt by an accusation of murder from a girl you see as your own daughter? But if I were to dismiss this completely, you'd also think I'm not being considerate of your feelings. Ah well, let Uncle Marcel teach you another lesson. Do you know what the biggest flaw in your reasoning is?
I suppose you're gonna tell me anyways.
It's timing again. I'm a businessman by trade. From that standpoint, there's no reason for me to kidnap young women. It's a high-risk action with nothing to gain. In addition, I left my home in Snezhnaya when I was young to come to Poisson and work in some trade. My business only thrived when I received Callus's patronage. But the disappearances began before I ever stepped foot in Fontaine.
I do apologize, Demoiselle. This was my mistake.
No, it's not your fault. I'm sure he...
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Would you like to check the date of my first business license against the first known case of the serial disappearances? You can also take a look at my border entry records, or ask my friends and family when I left Snezhnaya for the first time. Could those records and testimonies do something to appease the unspeakable anguish in your heart?
Seems like she got the wrong guy. At this rate, Navia will be convicted for falsely accusing him.
I think you've done a superb job of dissecting your father's feelings as he neared the end of his life. But aren't you going against all of his wishes and expectations right now? He wished for you to become more rational, collected, and conscientious, instead of dwelling only on your own feelings. Once you've learned to be more considerate of others' feelings, and to stop rushing headlong into things, you'd have met most of his expectations.
This isn't just about me, and it never has been. The biggest difference between me and the rest of the victims is that I still have the ability to search for the truth, while that same agency has long been taken from them. The people whose families were destroyed by synth abuse, the people who lost their loved ones to the serial disappearances, and the people who suffered tragic ends due to their sense of justice. Many people's images are flashing before my eyes. I'm sure some are coming to those of you in the audience as well. And whose image do you see, Marcel? Is it a man named Vacher?
Huh.
Oh, so you do know that name.
I'm merely surprised you'd suddenly say the name of someone I've never even heard of.
I was waiting for you.
that'll show us the way up. The water level is rising. Now we can swim to the top. But this is still a ways away from where we need to go.
Let me read you a poem. Rain.
Hope alive.
By royal decree. Over here.
Midnight Phantasmagoria. Rebuild. Let the magic begin. Now the path is clear. Let's go.
Oh, my soul. On for me. Over here.
Use the spotlight.
Step on up. Let me read you a poem.
Midnight Phantasmagoria.
Surprise! Be amazed! Over here!
After all that, though, as expected, the mask. That's right. What's all this? Pink accessories, a hair tie, a necklace, even a makeup box. Oh, Paimon sees it too, but... Huh? You mean the girls from... And then they were... And all the boxes of things. These names... Oh, look! There's an important looking basin over here. And it's full of water. That means this is where where they make all this. If you dilute it with Paimon will take. Let's see what's written here. Callus. Navia's father. Oh, this seems to be an investigation. This should prove the existence of the third person, right? We still have the old dogs. He can act. I concur. Let's send. Oh, seems like we've got a bunch of correspondence between the higher-ups. They're all just so evil. What's this over here? Looks like some kind of place for research. Experiment number 16 aims to verify Jacob Ingold's research conclusions on the primordial sea and use his theory as a foundation to achieve a breakthrough. The experiment was a failure. No individual managed to resurface from the water from the primordial sea.
In the city for
Female specimens 22, 23, and 24 were dissolved. Sorry, Traveler. Paimon will try her best. It's just, how can someone write something that terrible in such a matter-of-fact tone? You read the rest. Paimon's too scared to keep going. So that's why he did all of these experiments. Wait, did he really think he'd be able to find a way just by dissolving people over and over? That's just insane! Huh? Isn't that the name you heard by the fountain? Paimon thought he was an eyewitness in the serial disappearances case. You mean Vache is the one who did all of these... experiments? So that's it! Vache was no victim, but personally took his lover and... No, that's not it either! If that's the case, why would he want people to resurface from the water? In any case... Whoa! There's so much synth here! And so many bottles of ingredients that probably just contain the waters of the primordial sea. Mixing in progress. Ready to drink? Whoa! There's even fruit-flavored synth? Yep, it's soup! We've looked at almost everything here, and it seems like our theories were spot on. But... yeah, we haven't found anything that reveals his... No wonder even Nervalette wasn't able to find that way, even if we bring all this back to the opera. Sure thing. Paimon won't admit defeat to this guy either.